what's up? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a really fun transformation. I'm taking somebody from a brunette, kind of grown out highlight into a beautiful balayage ombre look. I'm going to be sharing my signature foilayage technique and you're not going to want to miss it. So let's go. Alright, so in today's video, my model has grown out highlights, but she wanted to be a lot blonder to bring some more of that brightness down towards the bottom and not necessarily have it be so dark and so dimensional. So we're gonna add a lot of brightness in, hopefully get it a little bit more ashy, and I'm really excited to share this transformation with you guys. So let me show you guys her before and let's get started. Alright, so this is our starting canvas. You guys can see she has some actually grown out highlights and a lot of dimension kind of here in the bottom. She's got some lightness, but definitely a lot more dimension. And then you guys can see these kind of highlight pieces that are still up there. This is going to give us a great base to go off of, but we definitely want to go a lot lighter and a lot brighter. So not too bad, something to work with, but we want to make it lighter, brighter, ashier, and all that fun stuff. So let's go mix up. All right, so I'm gonna mix up her lightener, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with 30 on one side, 15 on some of those light ends, and then we'll bump it up to probably 35 and then 20, and then also bump it up from there as we go up the head. But we're gonna start out with a lower developer just because it's gonna take me a little bit of time to apply all her colors. So we wanna make sure that we're not, you know, hurting her hair or going too aggressive. So I love this bowl because I can mix up two different formulas in there. This one I got from Cosmoprof, but we're gonna do 30 on the one side, like I said, and 15 on the other. And then of course I'm gonna add some Olaplex into her formula. I just do a 1/16 of an ounce so I don't have to bump up the developer, but I'll always add that into my formulas to mix it in there to keep her hair nice and healthy as we're working. All right, and then for her blending agent for the conditioner, I'm gonna use the Dual Senses conditioner from Goldwell. I love this conditioner because it's super lightweight, and so you guys will see me use this in the process, but I really, really like this conditioner. It's the best one that I've seemed to have found, and I absolutely love it. So we'll pump some into a bowl, and this will be our blending agent. All right, so I'm gonna section her hair. We always section the front from the back so that we can work in the back quadrant first and then move our way to the front. So I'm gonna take it kind of from the ear forward, and I'm just gonna clip this out of the way. And the nice thing is it helps keep my work nice and clean. So we'll just clip this out, nothing super fancy, just like one of my clips right here. And then we'll start in this back. All right, so she's got a little bit of breakage underneath here. She plays water polo, so this is all from swim cap breakage. So we're not gonna tackle any of this hair. We don't wanna make sure that this would be weird if there was just blonde right here. So anytime you have a client that has an issue kind of like this, or breakage around the front from pregnancy or anything like that, you never want to balayage or lighten these pieces because that's just going to accent the fact that they have these breakage. So we're just going to leave those alone, and we're going to start our sectioning a little bit higher from that. What I want this to do is I want this piece to be a veil, so when she wears her hair up, but again, we don't want these pieces to kind of be accented and shown off more. So that's going to be our first section right here. I'm going to do another one on the other side, and they're just about a ½ an inch wide, but these are going to be our first pieces right around the hairline. All right, so I got my first section here, and I'm just going to weave this piece out, and I'm going to start, this is gonna be our kind of low light area so that it doesn't, again, have like a blonde chunk right around her hairline, and I'm gonna start just kind of teasing this. Now you guys can see by me teasing it, I'm getting all of those little baby hairs out of the way, so what we're gonna be lightening is all of her long, long hair. Then I'm gonna grab one of my long foils, and I'm going to apply my blending agent in there, that conditioner that I just showed you guys. So we're just gonna apply this right here, and this is going to help act as a blending agent for the lightener to be blended up into. So on this dark hair, I'm gonna take my 30 volume, and I'm just gonna pull it down through. Now she doesn't really have any lightness down here, so I'm not too worried about it, pulling it all the way through and making sure to fully saturate. Then I'm gonna go back through and just blend up our lightener into that conditioner. Now one thing you wanna be really careful of is you wanna make sure that you're not blending it up into that teased area, or else you could get kind of some spots or things like that. So I'm just kind of lightly blending this in. Now my lightener is mixed to a little bit thinner consistency, and that will also help. If it's too thick, sometimes what can happen is it'll cause bleed marks and all of that as well. But the great thing about using the conditioner as our blending agent and teasing the hair is you don't have to go back in and do a root shadow because it's already blended. Now we're just gonna take a smaller foil, place this right on top, fold it over, and just kind of fold down one of the corners. This will help kind of keep it locked into place. And I'm gonna do my next section, which is just about another 1/2 inch, and we're just gonna continue up the head going this way. All right, so I've done my 2 pieces around the hairline, and you guys can see I just started a V pattern right there. So now what I'm gonna do to break up this V pattern is I'm gonna do a straight across one. So we're just gonna go in and do a smaller triangle. Now, with most clients, I would actually do it a little bit higher, but her goal is to be pretty blonde. So we're gonna take this pretty close in here because I don't want there to be a ton of depth. And as you guys can see, this piece actually has quite a bit of depth in there. So what I'm actually gonna do is, because this piece is pretty significantly around her hairline, I'm gonna weave out this first piece, which is gonna end up being my balayage piece, and I'm actually gonna go in down here with the rest of the triangle and do a pretty deep teased section. So you guys can see I'm just gonna tease pretty good right in here, and she already has some lightness, which is gonna be great. We can work off of that, and I'm gonna lighten all the way down here because again, our goal is to get pretty light on these ends. So I'll go in, tap it with our conditioner, and because this is a thicker section, I wanna make sure it goes all the way through. Pull that back up there. Go in with my 30 volume. I'm gonna kind of drag that down because we have some darker pieces in here. Now this is gonna be a piece I want to be real light and bright. So kind of go in with my 30 volume, and then I'll mix in some of that 15 just to kind of break it up right in there. And you guys can see I'm kind of opening up the hair and kind of pushing it in there real good because I want to make sure that we're getting all the way through that section. What would happen is if I'm not pushing the product into it, you can actually get spots on the inside. So we want to make sure that you're pushing it in. So you guys can see me kind of doing that, just blending it up in there, pushing that product in. I'm actually using the back of my hand to push that product in there. Now I'll take my 15 volume and just kind of lightly tap some of these lighter pieces. Now these lighter pieces I still want to lighten. You guys can see that they're almost like a level 8, and we want to get them to like a level 10. So definitely still want those to brighten up a little bit. And again, we have Olaplex in here, so to make sure that we're keeping it nice and healthy as we're doing this. I'm gonna go back up to my balayage piece that we have up here, and she's got one little area right here that's kind of light already, so I don't want to overlap that, so we'll just pull that guy out of the foil right there, and then we'll go through and kind of tease this up in there. Now this piece is gonna be much higher because this is an actual balayage piece, so you guys can see I'm gonna place that foil in much higher at the base, tap our conditioner in there, and then go from there. And one thing I like to do is I actually like to take a clean brush that doesn't have any product on it, and I'll go back through and kind of drag it down and wipe it off on my towel. And this is almost creating like an eraser for me, so that way I don't get any spots accidentally. Place our foil and lock it into place. Now as we continue up the head, I'm going to do 2 diagonal back sections to 1 straight across section to break up the pattern so that we don't just have brightness through here and depth through here. We want to make sure that we have some lightness throughout the entire head. So doing this kind of almost bricklay pattern of 2 V's straight across, 2 V's straight across, and when we get to the top, I'll show you what we do there. All right, so now we've worked all the way up to this kind of top crown area. You guys can see it's about 1.5 inches wide. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna do 3 sections because again, her goal is to be pretty blonde. So normally I would do 2 sections for this, but I'm gonna do 3 just because I wanna make sure that we pack in as much lightness as possible. So I'm gonna do about 1/2 inch partings here. So we'll just take that straight across, we'll clip this away, and you guys can see we got quite a bit of depth in here. Now, one of the things that she has had throughout her entire hair is she's got highlights. So she's got some of her natural color that goes all the way through to the ends. So I'm gonna show you guys what I've been doing for this. So I've been weaving out just random weavings. She's got some like real blonde pieces, so we'll take that out. We don't need to relighten that or anything, and that's pretty light. But you guys can see that we still have some of this depth all the way through. So what I've been doing is I've been teasing it really, really well, taking our foil, and I'm actually gonna pick out some of those dark pieces. So we'll tap our conditioner in there. And the great thing about using the conditioner is I can let this piece go, and you guys can see that the foil's not going anywhere. So that's something that's really helpful as well. So I'm gonna start with my 35 volume. We did bump up to 35 and 20. So now on the dark pieces, we're using 35, and then down here on the lighter pieces, we're using 20. So I'm gonna go through in here, really saturate that dark area. Then I'm gonna go through, and I actually love these brushes. This is a Framar brush because it's got this like tail comb already built into it. But I'm gonna pick out some of our really dark pieces right in here, almost just kind of weave these guys out so that what we're left with is all the light pieces down here, and then we got some more depth in here. And I'm just gonna kind of squish these back up this way. So I'll fold it back up to make sure that we really lighten those like darker pieces or pieces that have a lot more depth in them. And I'm okay using 35. I know that some of that like caramely was in there, but I'm not too stressed out about it. Again, we have Olaplex in there. Then I'll go take my 20 volume and just tap this area down here with the majority light pieces. So you guys can see how I can kind of isolate those pieces in there so that we're getting rid of that depth. Because what would happen is if I just did, you know, 35 and then just did 20 all the way straight through, we would still have some depth in there, maybe some like warm pieces, and we don't want that. So that's a really great way to do that. Now I'm just gonna go back in and kind of blend it up in here. Again, making sure to kind of press that lightener in there. But I'm pressing it, but I'm also kind of feathering it at the same time. So just really being mindful. This obviously takes practice, so I would recommend just practicing it on a doll head or practicing on a client like underneath their hair maybe a little bit when you first start to try it. It definitely takes some practice getting used to, but it's a great technique and I think you'll love it. So now I'm just going through kind of erasing some of those lines. You guys can see just kind of smoothing that out a little bit. We'll place a foil and I'm gonna do 2 more sections through this top area and then we'll move on to the front. All right, so now I've gotten to the front section and I'm gonna do her hairline first and foremost. You guys can see she's got some pops of brightness right there, but these are just grown out highlights, so I wanna make sure that these blend a little bit more. We may end up doing a little bit of a root shadow because she does have some of these previous highlights in there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just literally gonna take about a 3/4 inch section wide for her money piece section, so maybe a little bit more. And I'm just gonna do a tiny bit. Now this is, I always do this for all of my money piece for the balayage, but you guys can see she's got some breakage again from that water polo cap, so we're gonna incorporate that but not too much. But like this is long enough where it could be in there, but some of these baby guys are too short. So I'm gonna do almost like a baby light piece right here. And I'm just gonna kind of lightly weave it out. And I'm gonna take one of my smaller foils instead of my large foils because this is detail work at this point. So take one of my small foils, I'm gonna lock it into place. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna barely tap her root right here with our conditioner. Now, the great thing about using the conditioner again is not only can I release this and it's not gonna go anywhere, but it's also getting rid of a lot of those little baby hairs and sticking them down. Now I'm gonna go in with my 35 and just slightly get it in here. And you guys can see she's got a lot of depth in there, a little bit of lightness kind of around there. Probably the pieces right around her face have a little bit more lightness, so we'll just be careful as to not over process them. And I'm just gonna kind of blend this up into there. Now the reason why I do baby lights around the face is because we want to make sure that it blends really nicely, and this is going to ensure really good blend without me having to tease it and get really messy. So this keeps it clean with her baby hairs and it allows me to have a little bit of control for sure. Now let's take that little bit of 20 and tap those little baby ends. Now I'm going to fold this into thirds. And lock it into place. And we'll do 3 more of these sections till we get to all the way around her hairline. Alright, so now that I'm getting around her hairline, you guys can see she's got a little bit of a point right there, kind of this little guy. I'm gonna leave that out. But I'm just baby lighting this guy. And I'm just kind of blending in her previous highlight. So I'm actually just gonna fold my foil back this way because it allows me to get in a little bit closer. Tap that root. Now this is normally how I highlight. If you guys have watched any of my other highlight videos, you guys know that I foil backwards. So I feel more comfortable foiling backwards than I do foiling down. So I'm just gonna kind of blend this guy in there like that. Do whatever feels comfortable for you though. And before I fold this foil up, I'm gonna take my clean brush and just get it, make sure that there's no like lines or anything. And one thing that I'm gonna make sure to do, because this would be really uncomfortable for her to have all these little baby hairs sitting in her face while she's processing, so we're just gonna move that out of her hairline right there and bring these guys down. I always kind of part them to where she naturally parts her hair and bring it down like that. Now we're gonna start on the sides. All right, so now that we've got to the side, I'm going to pick out her highlight piece. And this is almost how I do for my highlights. So put this guy away. And again, I'm gonna do a really baby light piece right here. So just kind of baby light it out. Actually, I'll take a little bit more right there. We want this to be super, super blended, but then when she wears her hair back, to have some nice lightness and some brightness right around her face. So just kind of tap the root again with our conditioner. And because these hairs are so fine, I know I'm using 35. I have not bumped up my developer. I'm actually gonna go through and apply a little bit of 20 over this just to kind of soften it, because these are such baby hairs that we don't wanna, over process them. So literally take that. I'm just gonna kind of basically make it less strong with our 20 volume just in here. And another thing you can do too is you could pull these foils when they are ready instead of letting them process with the entire head, because sometimes they're ready to go before the rest of the head is, so you don't want to over process little hairs around the face. All right, clean it up with my brush right here. And I'm just going to fold this guy to thirds once again. I'll do another one right there around her face. So I like to usually do 2 to 3 baby lights kind of around her face. And that's just personally what I like to do to get these money pieces in there. Now, this definitely takes practice, getting used to foiling this way and doing all of this. So if it feels awkward, if it feels uncomfortable, know that it feels uncomfortable for me too. So if you guys are feeling stressed or like it's hard to do, just keep doing it. It'll get way more natural, but it is even still a little bit awkward, just the way that your hands have to be placed, the way that the foils have to be placed. So don't stress if it feels, like I said, a little uncomfortable. That's totally normal. All right, so what I'm gonna do for this entire rest of this section is I'm gonna do about 1/2 inch sections all the way till we get to about this little triangle right here. So I'm just gonna keep working up the head. Now, when I get to these thicker sections, I'm definitely gonna tease, because we wanna make sure that we're really blending that in. And this is quite a bit bigger of a section, so we're definitely gonna tease for it. But you guys can see how much depth she has in here, not a ton of lightness. So this is really key to get a lot of that brightness in there. So we'll tease it in. Again, this is gonna help with those baby hairs that she has kind of around her face. One thing you can do too, if she has a lot of baby hairs, is you can take a clip and you can actually clip it up out of the way, smooth it out. Now you guys can see I don't have any of those little hairs falling back into the area where I'm gonna be lightening. So that's a really nice tip for those people that have those hairs that just wanna keep sticking back in your area. All right, so now that I finished this section, I'm literally going to continue that entire process up till I get to that triangle, do the same thing on the other side, and I'll show you guys the end. All right, so I finished her whole application, and I always go back and check the last one that I did on the top section, and you guys can see that we already have some lightness happening in here, but we're still pretty dark, so we're gonna let that process, but this gives me an idea of how long it's going to take to process. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to take some of these hairs that are in between. You guys can see there's some of this depth still in between, because again, she wants to be pretty light. So I'm gonna find a lot of these hairs in here, and we're gonna go through and almost lighten some pieces in between, because you guys can see there's quite a bit of depth. So I'm gonna go through, let's see, there's like this section right here. This is pretty light, so we could apply some 20 volume through here. But I'm just gonna go through and pick some out and just kind of tease and brighten it up. So I'm gonna do the same technique that I used for the ones down there and use my conditioner. Now, because she's got some pieces that are lighter, some pieces that are darker, we want these pieces to be almost our pops of color, and this has been gonna be sitting on the least amount of time. So I'm just gonna go straight in with my 35 and just kind of blend it in there. Now that piece is a little bit lighter, but I want these to be kind of our pops of brightness, so I'm okay if they get a little bit lighter. It's all good. Alright, so I just finished all of her foils, and you guys, I want you to know that this application took us exactly 2 hours. So without an assistant, just me doing it by myself, this application took 2 hours. So I want you guys to know that sometimes these applications take time, and this transformation is probably gonna take time. So don't stress it if you feel like you're only doing it in an hour and a half or 2 hours. That's totally, totally normal for an application like this. So I am putting Olaplex number 2 in her hair just to kind of help, you know, close down that cuticle. But another reason why I like to put in Olaplex number 2 in before we tone it is it helps kind of get rid of some of those tangles that she had from teasing it. So allowing it to kind of sit in there will definitely help us detangle it and to help us get the toner in a little bit cleaner. But you guys can see we still have a little bit of warmth in there, but a toner is going to take really good care of this. And you can see already so much blonder, so I'm excited. Alright, so I'm going to mix up her toner, and I decided to do equal parts of 9P, 9N, and 9V. She wants to be on the ashier side, so I'm still going to have a neutral in there because we don't want it to go gray or silver or something like that. But she has some warmth in there, so I am going to definitely counteract it with some 9V and some 9P, and then have that neutral tone in there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1.5 ounces, actually 2 ounces of color. So just kind of like eyeball equal parts of these three. And then I'm going to do a little bit of crystal clear just to kind of dilute it down a little bit so that it's not so dark on her hair. So I did just under 2 ounces, almost like 1 3/4 ounces. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of clear. So that's about almost 2.5 ounces, 2 1/3 about, and then equal parts of developer. And we'll go apply this to her. All right, so I mixed up her toner and we're gonna apply it, but I always start applying my toners in the bottom section of the hair. The reason why is in case it ever does, process too much or anything like that, it's a good place to have it process too much, and it makes it easier to make sure that you actually get the toner down there. So we'll start, and I'm gonna apply it kind of to these mid shafts first, and then leave the ends out because those ends are pretty light and I don't want them to get too ashy. We'll pull it down in a second, but I'd rather tackle the more warm areas first. And one thing that definitely helped was I started to detangle her hair while she had Olaplex number 2 in it, so it's not as tangly. We still have a little bit of tangles, but the Olaplex number 2 definitely helps us get through the hair a lot easier. Alright, so now I shampooed her and I'm going to use the Balayage Raw Color Care Acidic Milk Rinse. This is just going to help kind of close down the cuticle of her hair. I love to do this after pretty much any color service or color treatment. It really helps just kind of close down the cuticle. It also helps to detangle the hair. So for any of you guys that are having issues with detangling, definitely check this out. You guys can see it's already like helping me detangle the hair, and it really makes a huge difference in just the way that the shine of the color is, and especially after going pretty blonde like we did with her, it's really gonna help close down that cuticle. So we'll leave this in for about 10 minutes and then we'll do regular conditioner and get to going. So I just want to show you guys around her hairline how beautiful it looks and how great that's going to look wearing it back in a ponytail. She wears her hair in a ponytail a lot, so that's really important for me, for my clients to be able to have that nice pop of blonde in the front and for it to be nice and seamless, and you guys can see how those baby lights did really well there. So now we're going to curl it and I'll show you guys the final review. Alright, and here's our final results. You guys can see how beautiful it turned out. So shiny, super healthy, super nice and blonde. Look at all that blonde we got in there, and that's because we went in between those foils and put in a lot more of that blonde in there. Otherwise she'd have a lot more depth. So by going in between those foils and adding in those pieces really allowed us to kind of pop some of those ends. You guys can see that beautiful blend there. I didn't end up doing a root shadow because she didn't need it. Those old highlights just blended in with everything. So that's a really nice part, is she's not gonna have to worry about old color up here. Whenever we go to lighten it again, it'll be nice and fresh and virgin hair here at the top. So you guys can see that beautiful hairline detail once again and how nice that's gonna grow out for her. But just that kind of money piece in there, and I just love it. I think it looks so pretty. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that transformation. I had so much fun doing it. I hope you guys love the new foilayage technique, and I hope that you check it out yourself. Make sure to come say hi over on Instagram. I have the link down below, and make sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified anytime that I post a new video. I share tons of videos like this, along with business tips and anything that you need to grow your business as a hairstylist. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you guys next time. Tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.